today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
Because we don't know those basics, we create these false ideas about what makes us wealthy and what makes us feel good and a lifestyle. But then it forces us to create these weird solutions to things.
Very weird solutions.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of them.
Hi, I'm Angie Grainger, and this is the Prosperity Nation podcast. And this is my co-host, Elise Eropkin.
Hey, Angie.
Hey. Oh, what's been going on? Where's your puppy today?
He's running around somewhere.
Crazy pups. I
out
miss
and about.
him. I want to see him.
I know.
You gotta come up to San Francisco and bring your dog with you.
Well,
Like, yeah.
he's kind of annoying in the car, actually.
Is
But
he?
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, we are glad that you're here. I'm glad to see you too, Elise. I hope you had a great weekend. I know we used to always say, "What'd you do this weekend?" Nothing, but you were out with friends.
I actually did nothing this weekend. But anyway.
I get you. Well, I'm looking forward to this topic on the show because it's really important that we all have the ability to create a life we love without money holding us back. That's our point here of the podcast. So what are we going to talk about today? What is the topic?
Well, today we're going to talk about creating weird solutions based on maybe like a fake news, false idea, or
False news?
some other idea maybe that you have that might not be your own.
I love that because, it's like if you're not creating what you do love, well, why aren't you?
Right? Or what are you doing instead?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Because it's weird. That's a weird solution. I think that's what you're saying, right? Like you have an idea that you want a life that looks like X, but you're not doing it. Isn't that weird?
I think so. Or maybe not that you're not doing it, but you're not trying to even do it. Because you could be in the growing phase, whatever,
right.
Going towards it. But if you're not even making any attempt whatsoever, that to me is weird. Like, it's like when my friends or people I know, I'm not trying to call it my friends, complain about being fat. I'm like, cool, well, but then you see them like chug a huge thing of soda and go eat fast food. You're like, you're not even trying to
Well, what would that be a weird solution? So what's happening in that? Let's break that down. It's a good example to start with. So we've
all been there, I'm sure.
but there's an operating basis, an underlying mode of operation that's got some false information in it or false ideas about something because the outcome isn't matching what they say.
The actions?
And
Well, specifically in are you talking about weight loss or something?
Yeah, I was just going on that example, but if you have another one.
I don't right now. I don't know. I think for me, I always go back to the desire's not really there. They just think they need to look a certain way to feel a certain way or
okay, so let's poke on that for a second. Okay. That's a false idea.
That is, yeah.
And what would be the false idea in that scene?
That they have to look a certain way for something. To feel good about themselves or to meet a person, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're operating it so they have weird solutions. So their solution is, but I want to still have this soda and I still want to have this hamburger. So now I'm going to go on diet pills.
Yeah, I was going to say Ozempic.
Yeah.
I've seen it. People are on those, because those are all the rave right now, but they're on those, but then they're eating horrible, not working out. I'm like, okay, you're not supposed to be on that forever.
But that's a weird solution, right? Now I get to eat what I want and do drugs. So that worked for me when I was a speed addict, for sure. I lost all the weight I wanted to. That was a weird solution to trying to look good.
Yeah. But did you? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was thin and my face looked terrible. I had to have laser surgery after I got clean to get some of the scars off, So
that's crazy.
That was one of those things.
That is a weird solution.
But the weird solution, even just using drugs in that case, even using drugs is a weird solution to something. There's some false information underneath that's operating that says you can't handle your life situation, so therefore you need to escape from it by getting high.
Yeah. Or like relax. I hear that a lot with like drinking.
Or have fun.
I'm just have a drink.
Like, go have fun with my friends.
Oh, I'm just going to go drink to relax. I'm like, there's other ways to relax.
It's a weird solution to put drugs into your body to be able to have the outcome. Okay, we like to stay on the topic of flourishing as a person and financially. And it does come down to this, though.
Yeah.
Because if we're doing weird solutions to try and flourish as a person, we're not flourishing. We're destroying ourselves.
No.
We do that with our finances, too.
We do. Yeah.
So one of the let's talk about the reasons for, like, what is this false ideas underneath it? Why do we do that? Here's one of the reasons that we do it. When you don't understand the fundamentals of how something works, you add complexities to it. We all do it. It's just what we do because we can't go from A to B. And so we're like, we don't know why we can't do it. And so we go A, Z, J, H, M, L, and then try to still get to B. And we made it all complex. And we have this whole false ideas now that we need to do all this complexity stuff in order to get from point A to point B. It shows up. Look at the tax code. I mean, that's a great example of the tax code. I've said this before. Like the tax code says everything's taxable. But then volumes of codes and regulations that are exemptions to that. All the complexity because they can't simplify the basic thing like pay 10% tax on your income.
No, yeah.
I mean, they can't do that.
Done. Yeah, I know.
Right. So we do that and get weird solutions. And I like to talk about this from a macroeconomic point of view as well because for our country as a whole, all the complexities that we have with our banking systems and our insurance systems and our, and our credit cards and all of the financial means that we have. But all of these things are supposed to help us. What is it doing? It's not helping Americans increase their savings or decrease their credit card debt. The outcome is, average household of what is it now? $20,000 or $25,000 of credit card debt, less than $400 of savings, overspending, not building wealth. That's a weird solution. Something is going on that's not right underneath that.
Yeah, well, I think it's I said this before. I think a lot of it's social media because it's just showing people or giving people these false ideas of what happiness looks like, what success looks like, what a happy life, I don't know, whatever, with people on these amazing vacations and having nice clothes. And so I think a lot of people think that they need to have those things to be happy or whatever. And so they'll take out the debt. I've had people say like, well, I don't understand. I know my friends don't make a lot of money, but yet they always have designer bags. I'm like, because they're paying for it on their credit cards. Like, and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, or they're doing weird stuff like with, like OnlyFans, let's say, or all these weird apps and things where you can make easy money, but at what cost?
So there's a false idea that's driving toward a weird solution.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have a right solution, if you knew that you wanted to go from point A to point B and you went from point A to point B, you had a true idea and you did the actions and you got the true result. But if you are trying to go from point A to point B and you put in all these additives or confusing, there's an idea behind there that's causing you to get off track thinking that you're trying to get to point B, and in reality you're ending up over here. So what's causing that? So in that example with your friends, or using AI generated images of yourself to make money,
adult content,
but it's not you doing
for money,
it,
right? It's not you.
It's your AI image.
It's your likeness. So
your likeness.
Really, what's the problem?
That's right.
I know for me, I got in this debate with someone when they're like, well, you can make like 20 grand. I'm like, okay, I still don't think I would do that. Like, I don't even want my likeness to be portrayed in this weird negative way. To me, that's an ethical thing.
Right.
My friend didn't really know because they don't have a job. So all they see is the dollar signs.
Yeah.
I have a job and I make money, and like.
Well, and for your friend,
yeah. What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Your friend, like, what's the real issue there? She's not working. She doesn't have a job. So now she's trying to come up with weird. She's got false
quick
ideas.
money solutions.
Yeah, the quick money ideas that if I do this and do that and do this and this, sure, she could go rob a bank and get money too.
Right. And now you have all the justifications of why it's okay to use your image and all that other stuff and do this weird OnlyFans things, because now that's the solution to not wanting to, not only not working, it's not wanting to work.
Yeah.
This particular person doesn't like to work.
Yeah. That's the issue. That's the true issue. Is I don't want to work, but I didn't set my life up in such a way so that I could live like that. If you don't want to work. But I still want that
lifestyle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then, the false idea that we have in society is that, credit cards are there to help me. That's what they're there for an emergency. And then everything becomes an emergency and we don't know the difference between a need and a want. And it's just disgusting that the credit card rates are up to, I saw a Macy's card, so it was like 40%.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was one of the department stores. It was 40%. Even 30% is outrageous. Even 16% is outrageous. I thought
20% is high.
Exactly. Because would you be willing to pay a 20% tariff on your bag? No, we're going to get outraged, but we're willing to pay 20% interest every single year that we don't pay that off.
Think about it like that because they don't see it. Yeah.
What's the false idea behind that? That it's okay?
That it's okay. I don't know. It's like. I don't know if it's a political thing in this case, but people, if you told them that, they're going to have to pay 20% more on every export, they go nuts, but yet they'll buy the same thing on a credit card that's probably a higher interest rate.
Right.
But I think because it's not directly tied to that item. Yeah. They're not correlating the two.
So then, there's that false idea behind it that they're not paying interest in a way. It's like they can't confront the fact that there's interest on there, And even the idea of using credit cards to cover cash flow shortages, that's a false idea in itself. That is not a workable idea that's going to help you grow wealth and have the lifestyle that you want. And I think if we compare, say, to I want to have a certain lifestyle and I want to have a sense of wealth or having at least more assets than I have in debt, because that's the first step to wealth, having more income than you expend and having more assets than you owe. And so those first steps of ignoring that and focusing on having the lifestyle first, that's what advertisers drive that false idea. I always talk about credit cards. Back the first credit card came out in 1959, a long time ago now. And before that, what would your friends do if they wanted that designer bag?
I mean, wouldn't they have to I would imagine you'd have to actually get a loan with the bank.
Right.
Or just not get it. Or borrow from your friends or something.
Or trade something else you have in the house that's worth $1,000, or whatever.
Sell your stuff. Whatever. Yeah.
You're not going to just go on an IOU and then, pretend like you didn't have it and the loan sharks come with a 20% interest, to collect. We've adapted to making that the norm for so long. We're not even shocked by 40% interest rates or 30% or 16%. It's huge.
I know.
But we've normalized it. And that's because we're living off this false ideas about what actually will create that life for yourself and that wealth and that lifestyle. It's not chasing what the advertisers and your friends and social media say is going to bring you that, that sense of flourishing as a person and financially.
Yeah, that's true.
There's an underlying thing that we aren't taught in school, that we don't understand how money works when it comes to, if you want to not be stressed about money, if you don't want money ruling your life because you don't have enough or it's running all over, you need to get on top of that. And you get on top of that by getting your cash flow right and then building up more assets than you have debt. And that 4 parts of money, your assets, your liabilities, your income, and your outflow. That's all there is. It's that simple. And the complexity is buried it so much.
I know. And then like I've seen it so many times with just various people I know where they have used their credit card just because they're living beyond their means, and because the interest rates are so high, there's no way they're getting out of it. Even at like $10,000 of debt, let's say, like they don't make enough to actually make the minimum payments plus a little extra to actually make a dent in their credit cards, even if they stop using them.
Yeah.
It's sad. And then they complain about it. I'm like, that's kind of your fault though.
It
like,
is, yeah.
You didn't have to do all those things and go on those trips and buy those. Like, that's all on you. Like,
yeah. And then
I don't have sympathy, honestly, for that. But
because it does suck too, because then when you do make money, you don't get to go buy things with it when you make it. Now you got to pay off what you already bought. And it sucks. But it can be a fun game. You know, I've helped so many people get right in their debt. So it's not just credit cards. You know, it can be multiple houses and, whatnot. But there's something that feels really good when you see what's going on in your finances and you know that they're right. They're righted. They're in the right solid direction. And, you have true data on it. Like truly you see your assets and you see your debts and you see that you have positive net worth, which a lot of times we start out with negative. We have more debt than assets. Even if you have $1 million of assets, it's very easy to have more than $1 million in debt to have those assets. And then confronting the cash flow. Look at your income. Look at your spending. Where's your money going? Yeah. You can never build wealth if you're overspending because you're always going to deplete your assets or get into debt. There's where else is the money going to come from? So anyway, the whole point of all of that is because we don't know those basics, we create these false ideas about what makes us wealthy and what makes us feel good and a lifestyle. But then it forces us to create these weird solutions to things.
Very weird solutions.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of them. So this AI one's been my favorite so far.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're the one with the stories today.
Oh my gosh. It's entertaining. And I just,
Yeah.
Do you want that to be found later, even though it's not you? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I guess on one hand, like she is becoming an entrepreneur if she's figuring out a way to create money by selling her likeness. That just sounds bad. I just couldn't do it either.
I couldn't either. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole point of what we're trying to get to is getting to the bottom of finding what's true data for you. And that means what about your finances and about your own personal happiness is right for you? And what are you going to do to get there? Is that you got to do something to get there. It's not going to happen for you. It's not going to happen by charging your life on credit cards.
No, or what do you say? No man's going to come and...
There's no knight in shining armor.
You're not going to marry some rich dude.
Not going to happen.
Decides to take all care of all your debt for you.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's men out there who love to contribute to help to women. I've never been in that idea that a man was going to come and rescue me. I've always been like, I'm going to take care of myself and you're going to take care of yourself and we're going to have fun.
It's sad though that there are a lot of people that have that viewpoint, a female that I know of at least.
Yeah. And I know men can be very generous, and part of making a man feel good about being a man is being able to contribute. So, there is value in that, and men like to work often, and they do like to make money, and they can make more money than women. That's a fact, and they do like to share it and make, a happy life for their family. So there is a value in the contribution, but there's also a value for the woman of knowing what are you contributing that's to your own sense of health and happiness. You can't just hope that some guy is going to come when you're $500,000 in debt and just pay off all your debt, when you're nearing retirement yourself. That's a false idea.
Very, very false idea.
Anyway, what we're trying to get here is if you confront your finances, confront the truth of where you are with your finances and what is your money doing for you? What is it really doing for you? And step away from all the social media, step away from all the advertisers, step away from all the get rich quick, systems, and do what's right for you. And that simplicity of it is actually what makes you feel at peace and gets you out from underneath the financial stress. It's chasing those false ideas that create the stress and the unhealthiness and the fights and the broken relationships and the health problems that come from all that.
Oh yeah. I always do something. I know we're probably wrapping up soon, but I always do something for myself. If I'm like shopping or whatever, and I see something I really want, I'm like, oh, but that bag I want. And then I ask myself, why? Why do I want this bag? Or why do I want this whatever? And sometimes I don't have an answer. And then it makes me think like, okay. But if there's like why do I want to go on this trip? If I have like a real answer of like, I've always wanted to go there, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, yeah, I should go. But if it just seems superficial, then it kind of makes me think for a minute before I actually like click the button of, purchase or something. So it's a little test I like to do, even to check myself sometimes.
That's really good because you're kind of breaking that pattern of, wait a minute, is this worth going off my other plans for? Or is this worth being, maybe it doesn't affect your plans. And you're like, okay, it doesn't affect my plans. If I want to spend money, I can spend the money. Who cares?
Right.
But it also may affect your other plans. And then that's where we get regretful later because then all of a sudden we have all that debt and yet we don't have the thing we wanted to accomplish.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I love talking about this with you, Elise. You always bring in great stories too, not just me, but we're here to help money get out of your road. Money is not the reason you're not living a life you love. I promise you that. It's you. And so helping you find that and figure that out and then use money as the tool that it's meant to be to fund the ideal life that you're trying to create. That's our goal. So we want to hear from you. What are you doing? What have you tried? What's working for you? What's not working for you? What do you feel are the roadblocks, that maybe you don't feel like you have control over? I'm sure we can help break those down. So share them with us.
Yeah, so you can share them. You can follow us on all of our social media. Subscribe to our podcast, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And then you can also email us at stories@prosperitynation.com.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube. Follow us online for the latest episodes, updates, and more. And invite others to join us at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity Nation podcast.